I was excited for this as soon as I was made aware of its existence, a Lovecraftian horror game set on a Scottish oil rig in the North Sea, combining my thalassophobia with my intense interest in oceanic horrors beyond mortal ken. Sign me up. It's great to see a game with an almost entirely Scottish cast of characters that feels authentic, for lack of a better word, considering that characters with Scottish accents in video games can be incredibly jarring and off the mark at times. The fact that it also has a Gaelic localization and an achievement for playing through it that way delights me to no end, as that isn't really something you see all that often. But let's get into it, shall we? Our journey begins with the narration of a letter as the oil rig slowly looms into view. It's immediately clear that our protagonist's home life is hanging on by a thread, with his wife threatening to leave him if he doesn't fix the problem he created. Unfortunately, after reading the letter from Suze, snooping through other people's cabins and talking to the folk in the cafeteria, Kaz is called up by Rennick, the cantankerous in charge of the Beira D oil rig. Before we continue, I just want to point out what a strange experience it was to look through some of the cabins, because this is set in 1975, and I wasn't expecting to walk into someone's room and see National Front paraphernalia. If you weren't aware, the National Front was an extreme right-wing political party in the UK that believed in white supremacy, eugenics, that there was a Jewish conspiracy to control the world. They're fascists. They're neo. It was a fascist party that hated anyone who wasn't white and wanted Britain to be an empire again, and they certainly didn't want Scotland to break out of the Union. I talk in the past tense about them because while technically they still exist, they haven't tried to run for parliament since 2015, but they remain active like an especially stubborn infection. This particular cabin belongs to an Englishman called Adair, and he is a deeply unpleasant man, as one might expect from someone who plasters his room in support for a party that openly uses the N-word. In sharp contrast to that is another cabin decorated in support of the It's Scotland's Oil campaign that was started by the Scottish National Party in 1974. The SNP is a political party that has argued for Scottish independence since 1934, and the topic of our oil reserves has been a contentious one for good reason. But I won't get any further into the weeds here, or this'll devolve into a rant you could actually class as political. Point is, seeing these things was a little surreal, but also showed a great attention to detail, underpinning the tensions of the time and the concerns of the workers who actually had to deal with the gritty reality of drilling for oil in the North Sea. In the game, these concerns manifest most prominently as, to use the exact engineering terminology, the Beira D is a rickety pile of shite held together by wishes and pixie dust. This has resulted in industrial action by some of the workers led by Campbell, or Trots as he's otherwise known, which Cadal, the company that owns the rig, has responded to by taking everyone's Christmas bonus away, even those who didn't partake. Because corporations do not care about you, you are a cog in the machine and it will do everything it can to force you into compliance. How dare you complain about the lack of safety, you filthy communist. On the way to the cafeteria, we encounter the only female worker on the rig, Finley, and while this was certainly rare at the time, it wasn't completely unheard of. They briefly discuss the sorry state of the rig as Finley is in the middle of fixing a leaking pipe, and Kaz hands her his lighter for a smoke since she has misplaced her own. There's clearly no love for the boss man Rennick or Cadal, as their cost-cutting measures are directly responsible for the shoddy conditions they have to live and work in, because who cares about the workers when the bottom line is at stake? At the cafeteria, we talk to a few of our fellow workers. There's Adair, who we've already talked about. He's a crunch. There's Brodie and Rafs, who are rig divers, and while Brodie is experienced and reassuring, Rafs is nervous about doing his first solo dive, which is extremely understandable because, well, there's a reason experienced offshore saturation divers can swing 1,500 pounds a day. The work is very demanding, and if things go wrong, it can result in nightmare-inducing incidents like the Byford Dolphin accident or the Paria fuel pipeline tragedy.
Really filling the lad with confidence there, Cass.
Then there's Trots, who is called that because workers' rights and Leon Trotsky. He's ranting to the rest of the table that Westminster is only interested in Scotland's oil, not making things better for Scotland, which hasn't changed, I would say. Finally, there's Roy the chef, who is Kaz's closest friend on the rig, and the one who got him this job in the first place. He's also diabetic, which will come up later. What also comes up is the problem Kaz is trying to run from. He put a man in the hospital for slagging off his wife, and is hoping that being offshore will let him dodge the police long enough to go back and talk the other man out of pressing charges. Unfortunately, we're denied our breakfast of delicious beans, bacon and eggs by Rennick using the tannoy to call Kaz up to his office, bringing us outside where we can see the rig before it gets all fucked up.
Am I alright to get by, pal?
It's alright. You have to go around, Kaz.
Well, more fucked up. On the way to Rennick's office, we can talk to Roper at the drill. There seems to be a problem and the crew's having trouble figuring it out. I'm sure this is nothing and that Rennick won't make the mistake of ordering them to just drill through whatever is in the way. Anyway, we make it up to Rennick and get an absolute bollocking because while Rennick is indeed the crustiest imaginable, Kaz can't stop himself from making smart-ass remarks. Granted, Rennick was probably going to fire him regardless because taking a job to try and hide from the police isn't going to go over well with most employers. In the middle of this one-sided shouting match, Rennick answers a call from the drill crew about the problem they're having. There's something in the way and the drill feels off, to which Rennick bellows down the phone that he doesn't care. Just drill through the problem and ignore Roper's whining. They're on a schedule. The bottom line comes before everything else, including the health and safety of Rennick's workers, which is probably the real reason he didn't want the police to come looking for Kaz in person, or they'd see what a state the rig was in.
Out! Get off my rig!
Happy New Year to you too, you cunt.
With no other option left to us, Kaz heads for the helipad to go home and face the consequences of his actions. Or he would if the rig didn't give a sudden rumbling lurch, pitching both Kaz and another man off the side and into the unforgiving embrace of the North Sea in December.
Jesus, just hang on! Fuck!
Slipping in and out of consciousness, our vision swims with bubbling iridescence like oil on water. We see a flashback of Roy and Kaz talking to Suze about the oil rig job, trying to convince her it's the best course of action, but Suze is clearly at her wit's end with the whole thing, warning that they'd better get this sorted out, before it all melts into a kaleidoscope of twisted bodies, pictures of Kaz's wee girls, and the oil shifting like a living thing. Thankfully, Kaz is retrieved from the water by Brody and Douglas, who leave him near a small heater to warm up as that's really the best they can do for him while sirens are blaring across the derrick. Stepping outside, we're immediately accosted by Brody, who gets us to help him bring up the dive bell containing Raph, who does not seem like he's having a good time since he keeps screaming and thrashing about inside the bell as if he's trying to tear off his own skin. I'm sure it's nothing. Releasing the brake, we winch the bell up to Brody's level and Kaz asks what happened. Brody can only tell us that the drill hit something big and no one is quite sure what, but the already rickety rig is starting to rapidly fall apart now. Great! Brody sends us off to try and find out more. There's no easy path up thanks to the damage done to the rig, so we're made to pass underneath in order to reach engineering and head up top. In passing underneath, we come closer to the drill, and from the fog emerges something otherworldly.
What the fuck? I can hear.
Kaz! What you doing? Then you get close to that! Come back and see!
What?
Kaz! Get over here before it falls apart! Find me and see!
Jesus. What is this stuff?
Whatever this thing is, it came up from beneath the ocean floor, as isolated as life could be on this planet, and for all intents and purposes, we just attacked it with a drill. This is not going to go well for us. We're called into engineering by Douglas and pick up a headlamp to help us navigate, noting that more of that thing is coiling up from the bottom. It's wasting no time infiltrating the interior spaces of the rig, and anytime we're near it we get these oily visual distortions at the edge of our vision. Rennick tries to downplay the magnitude of this quickly evolving disaster over the tannoy, calling it a minor, temporary drill issue, and that drilling operations are suspended until it's fixed.
Are you sure about that?
Entering engineering proper, I need to once more stress that I have thalassophobia, and I'm also a massive baby when it comes to horror games where you can't defend yourself, so I hope someone appreciates the fact that I did not take the story difficulty option for the sole benefit of experiencing the intense discomfort and fear this game can induce. But on a general note, play whatever difficulty is most fun for you, use all the mechanics the game offers you, don't let anyone tell you the way you play something doesn't count, just because they're a tryhard with nothing else going on in their life. Point is, this is just the first of many times where I was muttering some variation of "this sucks so much, I hate it here, oh fuck off," because man did a lot of these sections make my ass clench with the force of a hydraulic press. It's dark, you're shuffling through cramped, flooded spaces, you're wondering if the monster is actually in the level with you or if it's just a sound, and when I say it's dark, I mean it is pitch black in there without your headlamp. Absolutely zero visibility as you cower away from the noise of something howling in the distance. We encounter Finley on the other side of a window, who warns us to steer clear of Gibbo, another worker responsible for all the noises we've been hearing, and learn that he turned violent after he got covered in some kind of oil. We also get our first proper look at what is actually being done to our co-workers by this substance, and it is viscerally uncomfortable to look at. Like, the team did such a good job designing the organic feel of this thing. From the iridescent membranes draped like curtains or stretching out like wings, to the pulsing arteries and grasping tendrils, the explosively dismantled bodies of anyone unlucky enough to get caught, fused into a pile of glistening gore with too many eyes, and the creeping white filaments of new circulatory systems spreading across every available surface like ivy. Absolutely horrific, I love it. Navigating to the water tanks, this is the part of the horror game where it innocently tells you that you can use lockers to hide, but you don't actually need to here. As far as I can tell, Gibbo is more sound than actual threat here, but at the time he's nonetheless an effective source of tension as you squeeze through tight spaces and crawl under machinery while the water is just high enough to drown you if you take your time. Finding the body of Douglas inside one of the water tanks, we finally manage to exit the area, followed by Gibbo's desperate pleas to not leave him and to tell his mother he'll be home soon. Throughout the section, he shows a disturbing degree of awareness. He knows something is wrong and he doesn't want to be looked at, but he also can't seem to control himself when it comes to the uninfected like Douglas, Finley, or Kaz. This sucks not only for the transformed, but for anyone they know, because it seems like the person they recognize is still in there and needs help, drawing them in like an anglerfish. For some, this won't be the case. We take a moment to get warm and head into accommodation, where we receive a call on the phone from O'Connor back in engineering. Because the workers need to be able to communicate quickly with each other, there's a talkback system spread throughout the rig that, at the press of a button, connects the user to another section, and as we progress, it'll be used to convey story information. Whether it moves the plot forward or is just there to make Kaz listen to another human being die horribly is another matter, though sometimes you don't even need the phone for that.
Trots. Trots. Is that you in there?
Trots? Trots, is that you? Can't hear you, man. Open the door. Trots, the door's blocked. I can't get to you. What's up, wee man? Are you hurt?
Jesus Christ.
Jesus, Trots! Trots!
In this case, O'Connor is mysteriously cut off and we head to the cafeteria where we find Roy hiding in the pantry. I appreciate that neither of them try to put on airs or act tough. They're both terrified, confused, and completely at a loss as to what they're dealing with. Kaz argues they need to get off the rig regardless of Rennick's approval and heads out to check the lifeboats, but not before Roy quietly asks Kaz not to leave him behind, though he wouldn't blame him if he did. Kaz reassures the big man that he won't. We pass through the sinister laundry room, mostly intact after some hanging gore sprouted tentacles to try and grab us, and precariously shuffle our way down to the lifeboats on the port side of the rig. On the way, Rennick finally issues an evacuation order over the tannoy, but snidely adds that everyone will be back to work in 15 minutes, so don't get excited. Only one of the lifeboats is still operable, so we get ready, releasing the brakes and pulling the lever to get it into position. Rennick calls to chew us out about the lifeboats and orders us to get to the helipad, only doing so because it'd be a mark on his record, otherwise he'd happily watch Kaz drown, and says so.
See, Rennick?
What?
Well, does this mean we're okay, like? No hard feelings?
Get to fuck McClary, and when you get back, fuck off again. I'd be happy to see you drown, but I'm not having your death on my fucking record.
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
We receive another call to hear a crewmate called Innes get attacked and make our way to accommodation where we have to pass through the laundry facility again. The material is spreading rapidly, forcing us to climb into the ventilation to get around it, and it's here where we finally have to face a monster. Trots has become one of the more ambulatory creatures connected to the Shape, the name given to the mysterious presence by the dev team. At first, he's distracted by slamming the door of a washing machine, but this doesn't last forever, and you need to alternate between throwing things to distract him and hiding in cabinets until he passes by, slithering along with the use of his arms and a writhing multitude of tendrils that constantly shoot out to grab and pull. The Thing inspiration is realized to a very upsetting degree, and I hate it. Well done. Narrowly escaping Trots, we inform Roy about the lifeboats and Rennick's order to get to the helipad. Roy isn't feeling well and needs his insulin, however, so the plan is for Roy to get the insulin from his cabin, and Kaz will get to the helipad and stall them. Roy isn't just the man who tried to protect him, but he is also the godfather to his wee girls, so Kaz is understandably dead set on making sure Roy gets out of here alive. Unfortunately, reaching the helipad means crossing the deck, and the atmosphere when you emerge is immediately uneasy. It's thick with fog, and all throughout the rig you can hear unearthly howls and the terrified screams of dying men echoing around you. Rather heartlessly cut through by Rennick reminding people about the evacuation order, and that it's no one's responsibility but their own to reach the helipad in time. You know, completely ignoring all of the everything that might get in the way of people reaching the fucking helipad. Like the unholy creature stalking the deck, perhaps.
No! Help me! Gotcha, bitch! Dobby!
Surprisingly, Innes managed to get away from whatever attacked him earlier and gives us a jump scare explaining that the creature is Muir and that it's refusing to let anyone escape. Once again, the unfortunate bastards who became roving monsters display just enough awareness of their situation to be upsetting. Shown by Muir wailing that no one wants to help him and asking why everyone is running away from him. Carefully sneaking through the wreckage of the deck, we get to the crew lift with Innes only for Muir to rip him away at the last moment, leaving Kaz to reach the helipad alone. Racing up there, we can overhear Rennick arguing with the pilot Archie, pushing to leave instead of doing anything of use to help save the lives he's responsible for. Not that trying to abandon the survivors works out for him, of course.
Christ! I can't fucking die here. Christ. Zeus. Fuck. Come on! Come back! Hey! What the fuck's it? Fuck!
We're thrown into another flashback with Kaz and his wife, where it's reinforced just how much strain their relationship is under, as Suze rightfully points out that running will guarantee the Polis put him in jail. Not to mention that this plan means he'll miss important school events for his wee girls. So not only is he risking worse punishment by doing this, but the girls will lose in more ways than one. Missing your child's little school events might seem like no big deal to you as the adult with adult worries and responsibilities demanding your attention, but your kid will remember that you weren't there. With nothing left for us up here, we descend from the helipad to Rennick's office, where Brody calls us. He wants Kaz to radio in the support ship, but the crane has crushed the radio room, so that's a no-go. Then the power cuts out for a few seconds. Brody explains that the generators are failing. There are more radios on the rig, but only one set of jennies, so we need to go down and fix the issue, because the radios won't work on emergency batteries. Great! Entering administration, we're briefly warned of something hunting our co-workers, and that something turns out to be Rennick because the miserable will not fucking die.
Jesus fucking Christ!
I'd be happy to see you drown, but I'm not having your death on my fucking record.
Running like our asses on fire through the crumbling administration section, we escape into the open air again and perilously parkour our way back to engineering. Finley nearly gives me a heart attack and gives Kaz instruction on how to help, pointing him in the right direction. Unfortunately, someone else had custody of the communal brain cell today, and it took me an embarrassingly long time to realize that I needed to crawl to get inside the cabin and reset the protective relay. Not that it fixes the issue, we're not that lucky. Instead, we have to manually reset the Jennies while Finley deals with the fault in the system that's preventing us from doing that. This would be fine if Adair wasn't down here hankering for the blood of a Scotsman. I dare say this form suits him better, considering the whole neo-Nazi ideology. This section was definitely one of the more nerve-shredding ones and took me the longest to navigate out of, although I did get a free pass at the start because Adair got stuck in the vent I was using to hide, allowing me to just walk by him to the control room. We get the Jennies restarted with Finley's help, and after a very protracted game of Marco Polo through multiple rooms, we finally fix the issue and restore power. We can't celebrate just yet, however, as Brody calls to inform us that the rig is sinking, requiring us to go down to the pontoons and engage the tension winches in all 4 legs. I don't know enough about oil rigs to be fully confident of my understanding, but I was curious enough to try and look up why this is something that helps. So, the Beira appears to be a semi-submersible platform, which means it has ballasted, watertight pontoons at the bottom which keep it afloat. There are massive cables attached to these that anchor it in place because you don't really want the platform moving away from the drill site and it only be connected by the drill. So these cables or tethers have really high axial stiffness, which seems to mean when the tension winches are engaged, the tethers will negate all or most of our vertical motion, i.e. stop us from moving up or down. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me in the comments. I want to know how this works, or why it's like something Brody has us do as a fix. Kaz expresses hopelessness at the situation and Brody gives him a gentle kick up the arse to keep him going, citing his survival so far and even managing to make him laugh a little. So down we go into the most hated section for me. We successfully action man our way down to the first winch and activate it, thus does my nightmare begin as we're required to navigate through dark oily water to reach the pontoons. You'd think since the pontoons are there to keep the platform afloat that they wouldn't be a flooded horror show, but they are because f*** me specifically, and why do you think we're sinking? Not only are the pontoons flooded, but they're dimly lit as well, leaving you with low visibility and a limited sense of space around you. That is until you have to traverse to the other side through a narrow channel with just enough space to let you crouch walk and 0 lighting. The gate slides shut behind you, you creep forward, and then the water level starts rising! This specific part, more than any other, was the most nightmare-inducing, being stuck in confined, flooded space that no one would think to look for you, let alone easily spot you. Just... ugh. People who do cave diving are just built different. It gets even better when your only path forward is to throw yourself into the bilge, hoping to Christ almighty that the other end of the pipe isn't blocked or completely flooded, but joke's on you, the room starts to flood as soon as you arrive. Surviving this, we finally emerge onto the other side of the pontoon to see it's infested with those membranous growths, and that's not all. We find O'Connor, strangely intact but definitely infected even as he pleads with us to fetch his wife Mary. Kaz realizes he is completely out of his depth and tries to leave, prompting tendrils to shoot out of O'Connor and grab him. Kaz can escape by stabbing them with his screwdriver, but expect more touchy-feely nonsense from the shape going forward. We reach the other tension winch in a room that I genuinely expected to go up in flames at any moment because there's oil pouring in and open flames everywhere. Nonetheless, we manage to engage the winch, and Brody thanks us profusely for helping to buy them some time. And after all that stress and unease, the game rewards us with a brief moment of serene, if alien, beauty. Back in accommodation, we call Roy to check in on him, and he's not sounding any better, even knocking something over because his movements are becoming clumsy. So he clearly hasn't been able to reach his cabin since we last saw him, but he won't ask Kaz to get it for him, probably because he doesn't want to be responsible for getting Kaz killed and depriving the girls of their father for something he figures that he should be able to do himself. Their conversation is interrupted by an explosion at the flare stack, which is used to burn off the waste gas that comes up when we drill for oil. Just as we leave to go see what's wrong, the phone rings, and when we pick up, we hear Suze on the other end. These aren't normal phones, however, so it really can't be her, and this is only reinforced when we hear Kaz's voice too. He is definitely infected. Crossing the deck causes us to pass very close to the drill beneath dripping oil and the outstretched membranes of the shape, to which Kaz correctly notes the danger of, as one spark would kill everyone still alive and destroy the rig. Proximity to the shape's origin point on the rig also causes Kaz to hear Suze again. We make our way up to a cabin overlooking the flare stack and talk to Brody in person, where he explains that the main feed has ruptured. We can see it spewing flames further down the pipe, and this is extremely dangerous because ordinarily the flare is kept in check by positive back pressure to prevent the fire from burning down the pipe and causing an explosion. We already have ruptured pipes spilling oil all over the rig, so it's crucial they deal with this right the fuck now by switching to the auxiliary pipe. Kaz isn't thrilled by the prospect of going back out there when Adair is howling in the wind, but Brody makes the salient point that Kaz doesn't know how to work the controls for the stack. Finley can't help either because she's currently stuck trying to avoid Rennick, so we're out of options. Jumping over to the processing quad, we skulk around Adair's lumbering shadow and manage to turn the diverter valve, prompting this exchange with Brody.
Kaz, I can see the feed switch in here. Glad you're alright. I've started the igniter. Give it a sec. I can't see anything.
Of course you can't, because I'm not that fucking lucky.
No, it's not working. The gas is poured back toward the rig. I'm sorry, Kaz. I need you to do it manually. It's too dangerous to leave it. You'll have to head out onto the stack and use the relighter I gave you.
Fuck.
Did you hear me, Kaz? Wave or something so I know you're receiving.
Correct.
Understood. Godspeed.
With that, we start towards the flare stack, only for an alarm to alert Adair to our presence, forcing us to run until we reach a safe spot near the end of the arm and burn that neo prick to death by igniting the gas. Rest in pieces, you worthless cunt. Running back to the rig doesn't go smoothly for us. The explosion weakened the structure of the arm, and it's a desperate scramble to reach an admittedly anemic level of safety before it breaks and swings down, crashing against the rig and sending us into another oil-soaked flashback. We see an argument between Kaz and Suze about the incident with Billy Chamberlain, who seems to have been resentful that Suze picked Kaz instead of him, and that's why he was slagging her off. Kaz claims to be the bigger man, but Suze immediately shuts that down because if he was the bigger man, then she and the girls wouldn't be at risk of losing their home because the flat is in Kaz's name. Suze refuses to let Kaz shatter the girls' lives and warns him to fix this or she'll leave, and by her comments this appears to be the day of the incident. It melts back into rippling oil and we come to on the underrig, the crashing waves lit an ominous red. We can see now how much lower the rig is sitting in the water, not to mention the increased spread of the shape around the drill, coiling up to the platform almost like a drill of its own. Navigating our way up to engineering, we come across a note Brody left for Finley. Kaz is believed dead, but Brody hasn't lost hope of getting out of here alive and warns Finley not to do anything stupid. We run into them shortly after and they're both surprised but relieved to see Kaz alive. Brody plans to float the rig by diving down and disconnecting the tension cables while Kaz and Finley head to marine control. Or that would be the plan if Roy didn't come across the tannoy pleading for help. He's stuck on the roof of accommodation and still hasn't been able to reach the insulin in his cabin. Brody warns against going to him because the rig is leaking oil and gas everywhere, a minefield of flammable material and unbreathable pockets of gas, not to mention they really could use an extra pair of hands trying to float the rig. But Kaz promised he would get Roy out of here alive, so he resolves to try anyway. Despite his misgivings, Brody offers some parting words of advice regarding the treacherous path he'll need to take, and we head off. You might notice that this is the same area we ran into Finley when the disaster started, just severely messed up by flooding, breaches, and the visceral iridescence of the shape spreading everywhere. It's rendered the area a nearly unrecognizable maze of wreckage and dark water, and I hate it. We emerge into accommodation and run into Trots again, but in the process of escaping him, we end up in Roy's cabin and grab the insulin, before the crumbling rig finally opts to mercy kill Trots just as he's about to get us. Finally making it to the roof, we rush to the hut Roy is hiding in.
Thank Christ. Roy! Roy! Talk to me, big man. Come on, Roy! Roy, wake up, you prick! Please wake up. Wake up, come on! Oh, you bastard. Don't leave me here. Please, big man, come on back. Christ, don't leave me. Roy, don't leave me. I can't do this, man. I'm scared, Roy. I'm fucking terrified. What am I going to tell Susan? Hey. I mean, she's going to fucking kill me, man, you know? She loved you, big man. She really loved you. So did my girls. Wait, what am I going to tell them? Oh, sorry. Your Uncle Roy's not coming home. Aye, I know. Me and Ollie. I love this big man, do you hear me? I loved him.
Finley calls to inform us that she couldn't reach marine control from administration, figuring that Kaz can reach it from his position on the roof. She assumes Roy survived, and when Kaz reveals he didn't, breaking down with guilt and grief, Finley is quick to reassure Kaz that nothing that's happened on the rig today has been his fault. He didn't have to go back for Roy and risk drowning or being ripped apart by Trots, but he did. There's no other way to go now but forward, so we make our way to marine control where Finley can talk us through what to do. We take a perilous route across that brings us uncomfortably close to the drill, now surrounded by the coiling membranes of the shape and swirling debris from the rig, indicating some degree of gravity manipulation. Reaching marine control, we come across Roper, the guy who was overseeing the drill at the beginning. He's been infected and partially disassembled by the shape, but appears immobile and not immediately aggressive. He at least doesn't attack Kaz while we go back and forth on the phone with Finley, even allowing Kaz to take the key needed to unlock the controls from his hand with nothing more than a frightened gurgle to keep Rennick away from him. We counterflood the forward pontoon to keep the rig from tipping over, assured that Brody will have left the area by now, and it does appear to work as the rig shifts into a more stable position. Kaz is told to head to drill ops, but just before we leave, tentacles burst out of Roper and try to keep us there, not that it works. An interesting detail here is that the first couple of times you return to the phone, it's right where Kaz left it, off the hook. But the final time you use it, it's been moved, indicating that Roper could in fact reach that side of the room this whole time, but only lashed out at the last moment because he couldn't hold it back anymore. On the way to drill ops, we hear Suze over the tannoy asking why Kaz isn't watching his daughters, and it's hard to tell if the shape is purposefully inducing upsetting hallucinations, or if it's influenced by Kaz's own guilt and turmoil over the situation. I'm inclined to believe it's the latter, as the shape itself seems to act instinctively rather than with purpose. It was attacked, so it's retaliating, and the more intelligent actions, like hunting and tracking down prey, seems to be taken by the infected individuals who can still move. If you'd like a much more in-depth video regarding the biology of this thing and what it might be, I highly recommend this video by ROANOKE Gaming. A door bursts open and releases a flood, pushing us deeper into administration where we have to navigate rapidly flooding stairwells and hallways, only finding pockets of air in the ventilation and hearing something thrashing about and screaming as we progress. It's increasingly clear that Kaz is infected as the hallucinations and oily flashes of his loved ones come with greater and greater frequency. He might have avoided being violently added to the collective, but his encounters with this thing have lit a slow-burning fuse. It's only a question of when it overtakes him. Rennick bursts through a wall for one last chase just before we can reach drill ops, threatening to tear Kaz apart and eat the pieces, only to find himself miserably wedged in the collapsed, flooding hallway. He begs Kaz not to leave him there to die, but
I'd be happy to see you drown.
We enter drill operations and find Finley sitting at the controls, head in one hand, phone in the other, and not responding to anything Kaz says. When he asks who she's talking to, she wordlessly hands him the phone.
With Finley, she's freaked out here.
Listen, Kaz. There's no much time. There's oil and gas getting in here. When it fills, it will be headed right up the drill pipe.
What are you on about?
I'm still in the pontoons. I've only got a couple of minutes. I can't stop it. The rig's a time bomb now. You understand? One spark and... You need to find a way off.
Just get back up here and we'll work it out, yeah?
I can't do that.
What?
I can't get back up.
Wait, no way.
I'm sorry.
Wait, listen.
You're on your own now.
I'll come to you. All right?
No, you won't. You wouldn't even get halfway to me. The leg's flooded and the gas, it's no possible.
You got your dive gear?
Aye, but
So you can use that?
it's oil, Kaz. There's nothing to be done.
Don't fucking say that.
I knew the risk when I came down here.
Fuck. Can I lose you as well?
Listen, I'm alright, Kaz. I'm already back on Skye. You've never seen water like that, Kaz. Clear, peaceful. You just let go and everything's fine.
Aye. That sounds beautiful.
You go one day. Alright?
No, fuck that. I'm never swimming again after this.
Kaz, you and Finley, you can do this, alright? I'm sure she wouldn't do something so stupid.
Brody, you there?
Kaz?
What's stupid? Talk to me.
It's getting higher.
Alright, I'm here, Brody. I'm not going anywhere. Alright, I'm here.
Get him!
Brody. Oh, fuck. Brody. Jesus. Brody. How's this happening?
After all that effort, after Brody did everything he could to try and get them all home, it's his death that breaks Finley. With nothing they've done amounting to anything but prolonging the disaster, she resolves to end this by blowing up the rig. Kaz gives chase, arguing with her to stop, that she isn't thinking straight, but Finley knows there's no way out of this for them, and she's right. Either they die in the icy grip of the North Sea, or they die by this thing, and then what? It won't stop here. The rig continues to shake and crumble around them, perilously close to going under as waves crash and wash across the derrick, making the pursuit a graceless scramble for purchase with every heave and tilt. Just before Finley can reach the drill, she's hit by falling debris, leaving her pinned and fatally wounded. Kaz rushes to her side, and she asks him who he hears when the entity is close. He admits to hearing his wife, and Finley tells him she hears her son when he was wee. She can hear him singing right now. But they're not going to see them again. There may well be a support ship coming to save them, but do they really want this thing to spread? Do they want it to reach the mainland, their loved ones, all because they wanted to save their own skins? With the last of her strength, Finley stretches out her hand and offers Kaz the lighter he gave her at the beginning. Terrified and sobbing, Kaz takes the lighter and marches into the drill. He is surrounded on all sides by oil and gargantuan wing-like membranes, and a deep, pulsing sound like a heartbeat thrums through the chamber. He's at a loss for what he sees, horrified by the scale of it, how little chance they had against it. But he keeps moving forward, one fearful step at a time, until he stands at the edge of the drill shaft.
I'm sorry, Suze. I'm so sorry.
The last thing Kaz experiences is the first time he and Suze met as adults, friendly and laughing. He remembers the moment he asked Suze to marry him, and the birth of their first daughter, before fading into an iridescent kaleidoscope of light. And waking up in his room back home, with Suze. Everything is quiet, Suze is still sleeping, and you can look around at pictures from their wedding, pictures of the girls at various ages, and a colourful drawing the wee ones made. When you go to leave, Kaz takes one last look back at Suze and asks her to tell the girls he'll be back for Christmas, indicating this was the morning he left for the rig.
Sorry, Suze.
Hey, Kaz. I'm sorry it's been so hard. I just wanted to send you this. To say we'll get through it. I know we will. Just take care out there and bring my beautiful big gallus man back home in one piece, okay? I miss you, and I love you. And the girls miss and love you. I'm still raging at Roy, but he's a good man, and I know he'll look after you. Whatever happens, we will be all right. We can weather this. Just wanted to say that to you, Kaz. To keep you safe and close and make sure you know to come home to us. I love you, Cameron McCleary. Be safe out there on those waters. My man. My love.
So this game emotionally destroyed me and I will never recover. Please send your thoughts and prayers. I'm being a little facetious, but genuinely this game left me a sobbing mess at the end, and the line that precipitated my descent into very dignified tear-shedding was Brody saying he's already back on Skye. Situations like that will usually get me in stories where one person is absolutely going to die because they're trapped somewhere, and someone else stays in contact so they aren't alone in the end. Even if that means having to listen to them die. It's trying to offer human connection and comfort to someone in their last moments, because to do anything else would be cold and heartless. It's a very sad, maybe pointless gesture of kindness, because it's not going to save their life, but it's kindness nonetheless. Kindness for the sake of it. Kindness so they're just a little less scared when the lights go out. Still Wakes the Deep is an excellent experience made by a great team. They really put in the effort, and as I mentioned at the beginning, it's fantastic to hear a cast of mostly Scottish voice actors rather than someone putting on an accent that just hits your ear wrong. I loved the monster designs, and how there's clearly a sliver of the person still inside, just unable to control themselves, the way it varied from person to person, like Roper holding back compared to Rennick or Adair being completely on site with zero remorse or conflict. I really have no notes for changes. It could have been longer, as some critics lamented how short it is, but would that have benefited the story? With the protagonist in constant peril, the rig slowly but steadily falling apart and the corruption spreading, there's only so long you can stretch out a scenario before the complete lack of answers regarding just what the hell this thing is begins to wear on the player. Would it have been a better story if you expanded on the company, the creature, the efforts of the crew to survive? On one hand, I would like to know more about the creature. I'm very curious as to what exactly it is, but on the other hand, not knowing what it is preserves the mystery and the unpredictability of what it's capable of, what it wants, if it even wants, or if it's just reacting to a perceived threat. And with that, we are done with Still Wakes the Deep. Thank you for watching, and if you have a game you'd like to inflict on me, leave it down in the comments. Special shoutouts to my supporters over on Patreon, who are all very handsome people. If you'd also like to be called a very handsome people, check out the link in the description where you can support me from just £1 a month. Don't forget to drink your water, take your medication, be kind to yourselves, and I will see you all next time.